Welcome back to Cheddar Shakers on this Monday afternoon. The following segment is brought to you by Microsoft Advertising. Create smarter customer journeys in the era of customer-centric marketing.
In a digital-forward world, it's common for businesses to focus a majority of their marketing efforts online, while this type of platform provides a simple and cost-effective way to grow your business or brand. Combining traditional marketing efforts may actually help to improve the customer experience. Kris Ruby is the CEO of Ruby Media Group, here with us to discuss all of this and more. So great to have you on with us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's begin with just how a traditional and digital marketing kind of campaign can work together.
Sure. I mean, I definitely think traditional and digital campaigns should work together. A lot of the times they don't necessarily, because today you have people hiring multiple firms, right? So there could be one ad firm, one social media agency, one PR firm. So if you want them to work together, all of these different firms need to collaborate and be on brand with the key messaging.
Well, in that digitally dominated world that we live in, do you think that some traditional marketing techniques still hold value and relevance, at least for us, for the traditional millennial customer?
For traditional, absolutely. I mean, I think with traditional vehicles, the original question is, what's the volume, right? How many people are going to see this? How many people are going to read this? But it was never about hyper targeting. And the thing about digital is that we now have that ability, which is very different from traditional. However, you have to look at where your target audience is. So if you're looking for millennials, Instagram or Snapchat may be a great portal. But if you're looking for baby boomers who still want to hold a print newspaper in their hands, then you want to look at traditional advertising, because that's still a great option. Amazing.
What are some of the ways that advertisers have combined this sort of traditional method with a more maybe progressive approach?
Sure. So one thing that they're doing, we're seeing an increase in experiential marketing, coming up with different ways to bring a brand activation to life. Another thing that we are seeing is definitely an increase in the sales of sponsored content. So sponsored content is really interesting. Advertisers are making a killing with that right now, because they're using their traditional print media in a way that it looks like branded content. Even though it will say sponsored content at the top of the page, people will still say, oh, I read this article about you, and will think it's editorial. So that is definitely a great feature.
But there's also this balance that they have to strike, where they don't want to be misleading, obviously, but they do want to disclose
of course,
that it is there for marketing purposes. So talk a little bit more about that. How have these traditional publications, these publications that have been known for having traditional advertising, how have they figured out ways to reach these new markets?
Well, you bring up a good point, and the thing is that there are very specific guidelines that they have to follow, and they do follow them. It's just that consumers sometimes don't read that text at the top of the page. So it's not on them, it's really on the consumers that don't understand.
It's amazing. I feel like I'm seeing it now, New York Times a lot, with the New York Times, I think it's called the T Brand Studio, even looking like a traditional article.
Yeah, I mean, so they're doing that in digital, and they're also doing it in print.
Right.
So whether you want to be the face of something, that's something that they could sell, and they'll sell it for the rates that they can traditionally get with print ads, but it's sponsored now.
Okay, well, what about some of the trends that you're seeing in out-of-home advertising? Because that's going to be a big category now, right?
Yes, one thing that's interesting, just in terms of out-of-home advertising and billboard usage, is the combination of, digital with people's mobile devices compared to traditional billboards. The other thing is that you can change that message and the frequency more so than you ever could with traditional billboards, and the rate is just less to get into that market. And
go ahead.
so one other thing I wanted to mention just about why traditional advertising can sometimes be better than digital right now is because you have over 600 million mobile devices using ad blockers. So that is going to stop you from getting your message in the hands of consumers that you're trying to market your business to, and you don't have that problem with traditional.
We hear so much about this idea of experiential marketing, and making sure that marketing offers something that can't be replicated in a traditional way. We see it happening with shops. How does that work itself into the customer experience?
Well, definitely in terms of the customer experience in retail, we've seen this a lot. It's no longer enough to just say this is a product or this is what we want to put out. You have to actually create something that's Instagrammable that people will want to go to. I mean, we saw that even change holiday shopping. And so Instagram has become this new catalog. It's this real life catalog, and experiential just further perpetuates that notion. And so, there's a saying in the ad world that if it's not on social media, did it even exist? And retailers are really adopting that motto.
Yeah, I feel like real life is like that too sometimes. What about if you don't have a very big budget and you just want maybe one thing that will really augment whatever you're doing? Do you have any advice for those that have that smaller marketing budget, what they should do in terms of a marketing tool?
I mean, I think the first thing that small businesses really need to do is figure out what their messaging is and who their target audience is. Once they have that, they need to figure out what marketing vehicles am I going to utilize here. So is it going to be paid media, earned media, search? To answer your question, I think figuring out your SEO and having really good content is critical, but you may also want to complement that and supplement it with some traditional advertising.
All right, SEO, still a big thing. Kris, thank you so much for being on with us as usual.
Thanks for having me.
All right.